What's up, folks? Crush SG back with a short one this time. So there seems to be some confusion around the Berserking buff and Unconstrained and how they work and how they interact with one another, so I just wanted to kind of clear things up. So nowadays it's a really common practice and it's very easy to just Google something, read someone else's data and draw your own conclusions based off of it. Most of the time, if the source is trustworthy, it's completely fine. Well, I personally tend to like to take it a step further. Those who have been following me since Genshin, you know how I like to do my research, right? I take it a step further. I do 2 steps. So step 1, obviously, like what everyone else does, I Google it to see what others are saying, see what what conclusions others are drawing. But then step 2, I test it in game to see if what folks are saying actually adds up with what happens in game. Now, in this instance, step 1, i.e. Googling it, my Googling began since beta and lasted all the way up to date. And that showed that initially many thought that Berserking was additive, but shortly post-launch, after more testing, folks began theorizing that Berserking might be multiplicative. And as far as I'm aware, that theory seemed to have stuck all the way till today. And that brings us to step 2. Actually testing it in-game to see whether things match up. Now, fortunately, in this case, it's a really easy test to set up. Now, of course, this is not the first time I've done this test, but, since it was brought up, I decided, hey, you know what? It's an easy test to set up. Let's just set it up again and do it again and record it, just to be doubly, triply, quadruply sure that what I tested, a few weeks ago still applies today. Now, before I play the clips, some important context. So I removed anything that could affect my damage in any way. No slaying strike, no wallop, no bleed, no damage to stun, nothing. The only ones that I have left are the ones that I can't avoid, like physical damage, close damage. Those things are active all the time. And of course, I show all of this in the clip, and various points in the clip. I removed half my gear, I went down to World Tier 3 for ease of testing, and I picked a solitary elite so that the test was repeatable. And from here, all it took was 10-15 minutes to confirm that my test that I did a few weeks ago and all the research I did in step 1 was still relevant and still accurate to what's happening in game. Now, just a few more details. I use Bash as the skill of choice because Bash is a single hit. I know it has a chance to stun. I don't have any damage to stun, as I will show in the clips. I don't have any of that kind of thing, right? Bash is just a very easy skill to just one hit, and we're looking at the white damage, not the crit damage. White damage is the most consistent one. We're going to look at the white damage without the Berserking buff, with the Berserking buff, and with the Berserking buff and Unconstrained. And to get the Berserking buff, I use a combination of Leap and Death Blow so that I get a extended duration. Leap gives 3 seconds, Death Blow gives 3 seconds. That gives me a 6-second Berserk. Well, 5 seconds without Unconstrained, 6 seconds with Unconstrained. So that 6 seconds is a good duration to at least get a good few hits in for the testing. Alright, so for the first one, we're going to test just Berserking, no Unconstrained, so just the base 25%. I'll show my stats. You can pause it at any time just to read the stats if you want to. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So again, solitary boss, white damage only. What do we have? 1,000, 900, 1,000, 1,001, 900, 900, 1,000. And now I turn on my Berserking buff. And what do we have? 1,003, 1,003, 1,005, 1,002. Napkin math, that seems to be 25% to me. Let's try that again. No Berserking buff. 800, 1,000, 900, 1,001, 900, 800, 900. I'm going to turn on Berserking. And what do we have? 1,002, 1,002, 1,002, 1,000, 1,003. So I'm sure you can see the trend here, right? Unaggro the boss. Show my stats again, just so you know I'm not trying to do anything fishy. And now repeating this test with Unconstrained, so that's a theoretical 50% damage buff. That happens sometimes, ignore it. 1,000, 900, 900, 1,001, 900, 1,000, 1,001. Turn on Berserking. What do we have? 1,300, 1,300, almost 1,400, 1,500, 1,500. One more time for good measure. Turn on Berserking. 1300, 1600, almost 1500, almost 1500. And napkin math suggests that looks like a 50% multiplicative buff to me with Unconstrained. So what does this prove? Does this prove that I'm right? No, not really. That was never the point. Even this method of testing, it's not foolproof. There is room for error. There is room for variance. I could still be wrong about berserking despite these tests. The purpose of this video was just to illustrate the process that I go through to reach the conclusions that I reach and to make the statements that I make. So, is berserking additive or multiplicative? I don't know. I'm leaning towards multiplicative. This is what I tested in-game. These are the numbers that I got. That's the conclusion that I draw. If I see something in the future that is concrete to the contrary, hey, great, I learned something new. Alright folks, that's it for today's video. I hope this clears things up. If this was helpful, thumbs up. If not, thumbs down, crush that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.